Species. Unite.
I understand that when you have been using a restaurant for many years for customers, it's normal to think that somehow you own a little bit, like, oh, this is my table, this is my restaurant, and And then when the restaurant changed completely, you feel really betrayed. I invited them. I invited a lot of people, a lot of my regular customers. I said, don't worry, we have changed, but nothing has changed. Just come, I invite you and your family, you come and eat just like you used to do, and you are going to love it. And they did not. and they took revenge.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Novogratz. This is Species Unite. For the month of October, we are doing the Species Unite Vegan Challenge, and we think that you should do it with us. So go to our website, speciesunite.com, and sign up for it. It's fun, delicious, and really easy. For 30 days, you'll receive a small dose of plant-based magic in your inbox. And we also have some spectacular prizes from Era New York luxury footwear and from Miyamoto luxury vegan handbags. If 30 days feels like it's too much for you, then just do the first 10. This conversation is with Alexis Gauthier. Alexis opened his first restaurant in London when he was 24, and he got his first Michelin star a couple years after that. He is a French chef who has run Gauthier Soho for many, many years. And for a great part of that time, he served traditional French food. But in 2016, Alexis became vegan. And in 2021, he removed all animal products from his restaurant menus. This created quite the uproar. I met Alexis last week in London, and I had dinner at Gauthier Soho the day after we met. The food was seriously some of the best I've ever had. Alexis, thank you so much for being here. It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
When you came out of the pandemic vegan, as a vegan restaurant, it was in all the papers in New York, too. It was a huge deal. People were in an uproar. And so I want to get to that because I was like, oh, my God, he's amazing.
Well, thank you.
But I want to start, early and how all this kind of grew and how all these seeds got planted in you, because I'm always really interested and fascinated by what does it take to make not only a person, in your case, it's a person and your entire world. How many seeds and what has to happen in order for this kind of like, oh, wait, what am I doing eating animals? Let's start when you were a kid and how you grew up around food.
I'm from south of France, Provence. I was born in the town of Avignon. And Avignon is really the vegetable and fruit capital of France. Because of its position in the south of France, you are surrounded by wonderful product all year long. I wasn't aware of that. I was just lucky to be there, and so I was surrounded by beautiful melon in June, wonderful peaches in July. Root vegetables in winters, and courgette and aubergine and wonderful tomatoes and plenty of herbs. But for me, that was a normal thing that we were eating alongside animals, because in south of France, we also eat a lot of animals. And especially my mother believed that I had to have a steak of horse every day for lunch. I will return from school every day for lunch, and my mother will cook a steak from a cut of horse. And she thought that was the best food for me. And so I grew up on horse and vegetables. Thinking back, obviously, forgive my mother for not knowing about, animal consciousness. But no, I was very fortunate and to be surrounded by wonderful product and to be also surrounded by family members who could cook and could cook some amazing vegetable dishes. My grandmother used to make the most amazing aubergine and tomato, so roasted aubergines and cold tomato sauce. And every time she was bring that dish on the table, I mean, now for, teenagers, it would be hell. But back then it was so exciting. And I didn't think it was, it was as good as having a Big Mac, and it was only aubergine and tomato. So I was very fortunate. And when I'm really hungry, I dream about an aubergine dish. That's what I dream of. I don't dream about, I don't know, a steak or fries, or I dream about aubergine stew. This is what I want to eat. And that's really wonderful. I'm very fortunate for that.
Did you know then that food would be your passion, your life, like as a kid?
No, I didn't know that food was going to be my life. I used to love baking for my sister, baking cakes and making crepes together. But I really didn't think that was going to be my job. And even when I graduated from hotelery school, and I wanted to become an hotelier. So I wanted to run hotels. And I was told by a very successful hotelier that if you want to be a successful hotelier, you need to start in the kitchen. So you need to understand, the basic of the industry. And so I started in the Hotel Negresco in Nice as a chef, as a commis chef. And I've never left the kitchen since. That was it. I said, no, I'm staying there. I'm not moving from the kitchen. I'm not going to be leaving, working as a hotelier. I'm just going to stay in the kitchen. And that was the right thing to do, definitely.
And you opened your first restaurant, you were really young.
Yes, I was very young. I opened my first restaurant in 1997. So I was 24 years old in London. And 2 years later, I had my first Michelin star, and that was really wonderful. And obviously, London is a great place for opening a French restaurant. British people are super open to different kind of cuisine, and they wanted to try my cuisine. So I was very fortunate to be able to cook my cuisine, sell my cuisine, and having happy customers.
So what happened? Tell me
yeah, and then
where did it all go?
So my restaurant was super successful. I moved from Pimlico in 2010 to Soho. So I was, still doing my classic French cuisine, still, doing delicious dishes with foie gras, with beef fillet, with lobsters, with wild sea bass and eggs and cream. And I wasn't questioning anything. I was just being a chef, a French gastronomic chef. And then something happened. A few triggers on the way. The first one was having protesters outside my restaurant. That was 2013, I think, 2012 or 2013. A protester saying, Gauthier, you need to stop using foie gras. It's very cruel and blah, 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 of course. So, of course, the first thing I did was to, first ignore them. And then because they were there all the time, I started to rebel. And I realized that there was absolutely no way I was gonna make any difference by rebelling against them.
Like, how were you rebelling?
Well, I would say, go away. I'm going to call the police. Leave me alone. I'm just trying to earn a living, blah, 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 blah. I mean, if I think about it now, I think, oh my gosh, how stupid was I? But anyway. And then I said, okay, I'm going to engage with them. And so I listened and I said, yes, you're right. Absolutely. This is stupid. I don't know why I haven't thought about that. And of course, it's the most cruel things you can do to an animal. I mean, not only killing the animal ultimately, but on the top of that, force feeding the animal through the throat. Of course, I don't want that. Of course, it's awful. And of course, I'm going to stop. So I stopped foie gras. And then that was like another seed, but a massive one. So I started to wonder. And then I found this book, this French book called Antispéciste, written by a journalist called Émeric Caron. And I opened the book. And I read the book. And I closed the book. And I said, that's it. I'm not only never, ever going to eat no animal product whatsoever is going to go through my body. But I'm going to also change my business because knowing what I know now, it was too late. I had read the book. it was too late. I just couldn't carry on what I was doing, profiting, making money out of the exploitation, death of people who did not want to die. Simple.
Go back for a second. Tell me about this book.
Well, this book is just a book full of facts. A book that talks to you as a human to human, modern human, referencing the Cambridge Declaration on Animal Consciousness, something which is a reality, something we can't go against. Long chapters about, animal consciousness and their desire to live, love, have a family, being hopeful, being happy. Chapters about, intellectual ability of pigs who, when they get slaughtered, they have the IQ of a 3-year-old child. It's fact. And we're talking about fact. And me being a father of, I've got 2 beautiful children. And I'm thinking, yes, of course, 3 years old, my child can feel love and he wants to play. And I can't imagine, the 3 years old being scared to death to know that he's going to be slaughtered. So all of that is in the book.
Yeah.
And all of that terrified me and made me really it would have been impossible to read this book and not change anything. I think that's impossible. And there are a lot of books like that around.
Sure.
But this one it was written in my own language. It was written by someone who is very modern and knows how to use the right words, the right sentence. And I could really reflect and think back and look at who I am and what's the purpose of me on this planet. And then coming to the very simple conclusion that I cannot carry on like that. So for me, as a chef, as a person first, easy. I decided to become a plant-based chef.
And you were immediately, personally, you never ate meat, chicken, fish again?
Never.
Dairy? Okay.
Never.
You shut the book and that was
Yes. And from that day, not a gram of dead animal has gone through my digestive system.
Were people surprised?
My employees were surprised. My head chef was very surprised. My waiters were surprised. But most of all were my customers. Thousands and thousands and thousands of customers which have been building over the last, 15, 20 years, who had been enjoying, chicken jus and beef jus and lobster jus and delicious cream and creme brulee and me starting to tell them that there will be no more creativity around animals and starting the process of removing every single pieces of animals from my menus. That was a bit shocking.
Especially because of a restaurant like yours, it was very special to so many people, right? It meant something.
Yes, it meant a lot. It meant a lot, and they were really upset that they really felt like I was doing something against them. But obviously, I wasn't. But they really felt they really took it bad. And the day we became, because it was a long process. It took 3 years to remove every single pieces of animals. And those 3 years were a nightmare for me, a torture, because I was in the kitchen and I could see what, even though we were reducing the amount of animal product we were using, but I could see that I calculated the amount of lamb, because of me, had been killed. I was terrorized. Suddenly, the numbers starting to appear in my head, and I was thinking, how am I going to? I don't know. This is my last minute on the planet. Someone is going to ask me, "Did you do the right thing when you were supposed to do the right thing? Are you going to spend the rest of your eternity in hell, or are you going to?" And so that was very important for me to put all of my effort and all of my creativity. And every time I was talking to one of my employees or one of my guests, make sure that they will understand what I was doing and why I was doing it. And the process was in motion, and it was unstoppable. And then the restaurant became fully vegan.
Were you worried in the sense of you were just going to go out of business?
Yeah, economically, of course, I was
Yeah.
super worried. I was worried for myself. I was worrying for my kids, obviously. But most importantly, I was worried for my employees and the people who had been working with me for many, many years, like my business partner, who is the head chef. He's got 3 kids, obviously, mortgage to pay.
Was he saying you're crazy? This is insane.
I don't know. I think he probably in his head, he was thinking, why are we doing that to ourselves? Of course, he's intelligent and he could understand my point of view and the direction I wanted to take. And it was rational.
Yeah.
As a human being, it was a rational direction to take. But economically, it was a gamble. But somehow I was thinking, if I'm not the only one to have had this awakening, I'm not the only one to have read book like the one I read. I'm not the only one to, halfway through your life, starting to think about what impact you have on this planet and on the people living with you on this planet, starting being a little bit more altruist and,
Yeah.
I was certain I wasn't the only one. And I wasn't the only one. As a matter of fact, I might have lost 15,000 very regular customers, but I won hundreds of thousands of new customers who were actually sharing the same kind of thinking as I was, who were just, just like us today, normal human being with the same knowledge and walking on the same path to the same destination. And I am on this path. My business is on this path. It's with them. And so while I was, as a gastronomic French restaurant in London, I was one amongst maybe 20 or 30 other restaurants. Suddenly I became the only one. And that was great. And there was a lot of customers and it's wonderful.
Yeah. And I would imagine the whole energy has changed.
Oh, the whole energy has completely changed. Also, the people who had been working with me for many, many years, I managed to change the way they live, the way they eat, the way they look at animals, and the way they look at, they reflect about themselves. And they are all embraced the kind of who wanted to be. Most of them became vegan, which is wonderful. Most of them influenced people around them to stop eating animals. When they talk to customers, they talk with their heart.
Yeah.
It's not something they read and they repeat. No. They believe in it. And with me, they put all of their creative juice into the mix to create, a delicious French gastronomic experience for the future without any animal product. And this as a chef for me is wonderful, but having people around me who feel really inspired and excited about, with me, creating some dishes which reflect France and its gastronomy, but without any animals, it's super, super, super life-changing.
Well, and like in my own personal experience, you realize pretty quickly after you go plant-based or you go vegan, and you have this awakening, and it's usually an awakening, especially when you're doing it for the animals. It's definitely an awakening. And then you think, well, everyone around me needs to do this too, right? And truly the only way to actually affect people who are not at all interested is through food. Right?
Yes.
Because you can tell them horrible stories, and they don't want to hear it. You can tell them all the reasons we're killing the planet. They don't want to hear it. But you give them really good food, and they say, oh my God, I would go vegan if I could eat like this.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. I felt I had a massive duty to put my, all my creative skills into that for this exact reason, the one you just said, is that at the moment on this planet, there are more ex-vegan than vegan. And the reason why someone has stopped being a vegan, it's because he or she could not live without sushi. I mean, I'm sorry, this is as simple as that. They could not live without, I don't know, their burgers, or they could not live without their piece of fish when they go to the restaurant. So for me, as a chef, I feel like I carry such a duty to create delicious food, not just food, delicious food that, is going to make someone who tastes it feel like, yes, exactly. I can carry on my life without having any animals. I'm a chef. I've got this thing. I need to use it
And show the world.
Yeah, and
what
it's a
this can
tool
be.
I want to use to change things, and I want to write the gastronomy of the future. I want to inspire other chefs. I want to inspire customers to demand this kind of creativity when they go to another restaurant. And I know that when the momentum is there, it's going to be unstoppable.
Talk about the food. I'm actually eating at your restaurant tomorrow night. I wish it had been last night before I saw you, but that's how it worked out. But will you talk about the food?
Wow, the food is very French. It's totally based on my roots and the way I was taught how to cook classical French cuisine. But I tell you what I realize is as a French chef who was taught the traditional way, same way that old French chefs used to do 100 years ago. Using an animal at a certain time of the year and transforming this animal into flavor, intensifying the flavor of the animal. And then, well, I've used the same kind of concept, but rather than using the animal, I've used the food actually the animal was eating, i.e., seaweeds for the fish, and plants and grains and fruit for the animal on the land. And I realized that I thought I was eating like the flavor of the beef, but I wasn't. I was actually eating the flavor of what the beef is eating. And the beef is just adding fat to it. Same for the fish. I thought the flavor of the fish was strong. It was fish flavor. No, it's not fish flavor. It's actually the flavor of what the fish eats in the sea. And so suddenly I realized that there was hundreds of different kind of seaweed, for example. All of them had different flavors. And we play with those flavors to create the different degrees of sea flavors, we call it. And then we add that with some, vegetables. We cook it in a stew, we reduce it, and it's just like French gastronomy. But for me, it's even more intense. It's purer and a lot more reflecting of this planet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And is it all vegetables, or do you use some like plant-based alternative?
We've got two avenues because there are two kind of customers. We've got the kind of customers who has been vegan for many years and is really like sure about what he likes or what she likes. And then you've got the curious, the curious who wants to see what about tomorrow if I become vegan? What is the food gonna be like? So we use 75% of a traditional, I was gonna say normal ingredients, transform, and 25% of modern ingredients. Like we created a dish called Tomorrow. That was in our previous menu. And Tomorrow was the first 3D printed plant-based mass, which look and taste like lamb, and it's 3D printed.
Will you explain what 3D printed is?
3D printed is very, very simple. It's a plant-based mass, which is being put through a 3D printing machine, and it recreates the texture and the shape of, say, a côte de bœuf, or I don't know, filet steak, so it's actually quite striking. This is the food of tomorrow, and so we used to cut it as square pieces, and we used to roast it, and we used to serve it with a sauce that is very reminiscent to like a beef bourguignon sauce. So red wine, carrot, onions, slowly cooked, served with these 3D pieces of meat. I was going to say it's too real. And when people, they know they're eating in a vegan restaurant and they say, oh my God, what is that? So we can tell them this is tomorrow.
Yes.
Because the food of tomorrow is going to look very much like the food of today, I think, except there will be no animal product inside. And that's the human creativity and the how smart we are going to be able to just slowly remove all the animals, but yet keeping this delicious, comforting kind of food we are used to.
I agree. I think it won't be long hopefully sooner than we think, until we have cultivated meat in more than 2
Yes.
restaurants, and we have 3D printed, and we have all the alternatives for people who will never switch, but they'll have all these options that they
Listen,
don't have to change.
absolutely. And you are talking about cultivated meat.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to try some cultivated meat under the form of foie gras, because I'm quite well known for having stuffed foie gras, and there is this very clever French company who use stem cells of duck and managed to develop the liver, obviously the same texture of a liver of a duck, and they transform into a terrine of foie gras. They brought it to me, and I tried it, and it tastes just like the other thing,
Wow.
just like the awful things, just like the thing that's painful for everyone, especially the duck and the goose. And I said, this is tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is tomorrow. And you'll go to the supermarket and you'll buy your pâté, your, I don't know, duck pâté. There will be no duck. But it's duck pâté because it's based on the stem cell of the animal, but no animal has been brutalized, or no animal has been tormented, no animal has been killed. If anything, this is for animal. This is a future where we are gonna want to keep them alive. So we need, like, I don't know, a delicious wagyu beef, which is like, really à la mode, and everybody rave about wagyu beef. They want wagyu beef tartare, wagyu beef this, wagyu beef that. The future is one amazing wagyu beef somewhere in Kyoto, which is massaged and looked after, and this particular animal will provide a cell from which we can produce tons and tons of this deliciousness, perfectly marbled, perfectly balanced, super delicious, and we will be able to give it to as many people as possible if they want to carry on eating the flavor of wagyu beef. But the animal, oh my gosh, this animal is going to be like worth $1 billion, because from this animal, the flavor is so good. We want to keep the animal alive at any cost. So stem cell food is the future, and it's gonna be fantastic for the human who eat it and for the animal who are gonna have to be protected.
I often think how fortunate it is to be vegan now, right? And to be vegan in this day and age versus if it was 30, 40 years ago, especially if you're vegan because you love animals or you don't want to hurt any animals. Because 30, 40 years ago, it was pretty hopeless.
Yes.
Right? It was just like nobody else knew what you were talking about. And on top of that, there weren't solutions.
No, and people will argue back that animals have no consciousness. You'll have someone who tell you, don't worry about them, They don't feel anything. They are here for us.
Yeah. And
this is the slavering of animals, but we can't say that anymore because, science and progress, it's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact. Just you can't go against that.
No.
And so we can't go against that. That's fine. We take it to consideration and we move on and we leave them alone.
This French foie gras company, what are they called?
I think it's called Gourmet, and they develop duck and goose muscles as well for the future of the Southeastern Asian kind of cuisine. Yeah, they are fascinating, and they love animals too. They do it for the animals.
I went to Upside Foods in California. I went to their first factory when it opened. It had just opened, and I met Uma Valetti, the guy who started it. We were friends. I met him there to see it. And I wasn't really thinking about what I would feel or why would I think that, right? And we walked in, and it was so overwhelming to be in this room where you knew this is the beginning of the end of factory farming and slaughterhouses. And like every cell in my body just like exploded with, oh my God, this is it. Like this is seriously the future.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And it really is.
I agree.
It's and 20, 30 years from now, like kids won't even know what slaughterhouses and factory farms were. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's that fast.
I mean, the meat industry is quite powerful.
Yeah.
Especially in France, where they want to protect what they have, and they are not really prepared to for a full change of. They would rather see animal die than see their profit going down.
Well, I'm sure even with your situation, when you went fully plant-based, there are probably a lot of people thinking you would fail right? And especially other chefs.
Yes.
And
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Other chefs, customers who wrote to me to tell me how crazy I was. Yeah, I mean, majority of people who hadn't thought enough about it would think that it was the worst thing. Or they thought it was like a fad, I was doing it to try to grab attention and to surf on the wave of veganism and plant-based and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but I usually, when I decide to do something, I stick to it. To be fair, I was prepared to lose everything. That's the other thing. I was prepared. I would have been, happier, poor and having lost everything, but at least I would have done something rather than just, closing my eyes and just say, oh yeah, let's just carry on because the money is too good. And I know that's just impossible. I will not have been able to do it. I will not have been able to look at myself in the mirror. I will not have been able to think about, looking back my life the day I die, and think, oh my gosh, what did I do? What did I knew, but no, impossible. And to be fair, when I talk to people and I give them all the information they need to have, and I tell them about, animal consciousness and love and hope and desire, and they're as intelligent as me, and they don't change, I found that very strange. Very, very strange. So for me, the strange people is those who carry on eating animals when they know everything we know.
well, especially now. I mean,
Yes,
there's
exactly.
it's not the 70s or whatever.
Absolutely,
anymore.
absolutely. Then you could just say, well, maybe not. But now we can't. It's just not possible. I am hopeful that more and more people will change, but sometimes I'm surprised at the level of, the desire of not changing. That's very strange.
Have any of the people that were super upset with you when you went vegan, when your restaurant did, come back, and now tasted the vegan version?
And you mean
The
came back,
yeah.
test the vegan version, went on TripAdvisor and put 1 star
Oh, come on.
and say, oh my God, what did this guy do? Yes, I had a lot of that.
Oh God.
I had a lot of that. For some reason, I mean, I understand that when you have been using a restaurant for many years for customers, it's normal to think that somehow you own a little bit, like, oh, this is my table, this is my restaurant, and and then when the restaurant changed completely, you feel really betrayed. And so they came. I invited them. I invited a lot of people, a lot of my regular customers. I said, don't worry, we have changed, but nothing has changed. Just come. I invite you and your family. You come and eat just like you used to do, and you are gonna love it. And they did not. and they took revenge. Yeah. Took revenge. But I was prepared for that because, on the other hand, I had a lot of new customers who felt like I needed help, and so they came and provide help and write wonderful things and being positive and supportive, and so that was good.
Well, and you keep opening more spots, right?
Yes.
Will you talk about them?
Yeah. So I was talking earlier on about the fact that a lot of ex-vegans stop being vegan because they can't have sushi. So I said, oh, well, that's a big problem. And so with my team, we put all our creative juice into it, and we came up with a restaurant concept called 123V, who serve the most amazing plant-based sushi you can have. Beetroot marinated in seaweed and soya sauce and garlic and brown sugar. Tastes just like a beautiful cut of the heart of the most expensive tuna you can find on this planet, and the carrot pressed, again marinated in certain kind of seaweeds, becomes the best cut of salmon you have ever had. And so we developed a sushi offering which taste just like the other one, the awful one, the one that profit from the animal life. And we opened this restaurant called 123V in Mayfair, and that was just after the just after COVID, so it was in 2021. Yeah, February 2021, and that was a real success. And then we opened a bakery based on the 123V. So we've got the 123V bakery, which where we developed beautiful recipes of pain au chocolat, classic French croissant, pain au chocolat, tart, donuts, cinnamon roll, also sandwiches. It's obviously all plant-based. And the new one called the Studio Gauthier, which is in between Gauthier Soho and 123V. So if you don't want to spend £100, but you don't want to spend £15, there is a new offering in town. It's not tasting menu. It's not single dish. You can be, and it's a lot more relaxed atmosphere and a lot more sexy too. Because I found that, especially in London, it's easy to find a vegan restaurant where, I don't know, it looks relaxed but very rarely you describe a vegan restaurant sexy.
No.
I know some in the States. I love Gracias Madre in
I do too.
This is what comforted me when I went there to open my new Studio Gauthier restaurant, because I said, look, they've managed to create a sexy restaurant.
Yeah, there's one in LA and one in San Francisco.
Okay.
I've been to both.
Okay, so that really inspired me. And I said, if they can do it, we can do it as well. And yeah, it's successful, so that's good. But I want vegan to be proud to go out and not having to eat in somewhere with sandals and grains.
Right, right. The thing too, I've noticed, and I live in New York, we have a lot of vegan comfort food.
Yes.
Right? It's fun to bring non-vegans to because it's comforting to them.
Yep.
They can eat meat. But it's kind of the same thing over and over again.
You can't have the plant-based burger every day. Or the tacos or the quesadillas. It's nice. When I go out with my son, for example, who is 18 years old, he likes to have his comfort food. So we will go to a place like that. But when I want something a little bit more special, it's quite difficult to find a restaurant 100% vegan who can offer, creativity, sexiness, somewhere that reflect 2023, the flavors of today, the look of today. So I've created that.
That is what we need more of all over the world.
I agree. Well, hopefully we can inspire more people to come, and just like I was inspired by Gracias Madre in LA, people can come to Studio Gauthier and feel inspired, and maybe they can go and open one restaurant like that in Paris, because Paris needs
some good vegan
restaurants.
Yeah.
And it's one sexy, modern, futuristic French vegan restaurant. I mean, some restaurants make an effort to have, good selection of plant-based dishes. But it goes back to what I used to be, like a chef who, you are either plant-based or you are not. You cannot just, I don't think that's right. I mean, if I give my money to someone who also profit from the death of animals, I regret. And I don't want that. I think we all have to work towards the same goal, removing animals. And for that, we need to use restaurants that do not use any animals. I think that's super important.
And there is something so different. When I asked you about the energy being different, there is something so different where you go into a place and there's no death.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you feel it.
Yeah, I feel it with my staff to start with, because, of course, it seems strange. I don't know, when we are going to think back about, in I don't know, maybe 100 years from now, they are going to look back and they are going to wonder, how could they be happy while still, enjoying death? For them, they will think, and they will. That's just not. It's unimaginable. And yes, when you have when it's free of death, there is something happening. They don't have any death in their body. Of course, they are different. I mean, I work with them, I meet them every day, and I can see it's totally different.
And I do think once you change, like your diet and then everything else, your lifestyle and all the rest of it, and your whole world for you,
yes,
it's so expansive. Like you want to keep growing and you want to keep learning how to do better.
Yep, absolutely.
And be better. And it stems from that, I think.
Yes, absolutely. altruism is one trait of the human being which is not developed enough, I think, those days. And the fact that you do not want to inflict death to animals, and the way you look at, I don't know, everything that comes through your life, I think you're just, I mean, not a better person, but I think you're better for the future.
Yeah.
You're better for the people sitting next to you.
It just makes you more conscious about where you could be better.
Yes, and there is no end to that.
No.
I think
It keeps growing.
Yeah, it keeps growing, and every corner of your life you apply this, and it's wonderful. Surprising for some people, but it's wonderful. I think to live a life like that is just really rewarding, and I put it everywhere. When I meet people, when I teach chefs, when I talk to my customers, when I talk to my kids. And I can tell you, my son, 18 years old, he's sick and tired of listening to me telling him because he's got a different kind of view. But I think I have put the grain.
Yeah.
The seed has been planted and it's growing, and my daughter too. But altruism as a center of kindness, altruism, that doesn't stop you from being successful or wanting more. That's no problem. But you've got a different kind of attitude. And I think the reward in life will be much greater.
Thank you, Alexis.
Thank
you for taking that huge leap and really changing the world.
Well, thank you for inviting me. That was easy leap to do now looking back. And it's well worth it. Well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night and cooking for you.
Thank you. To learn more about Alexis and to learn about all of his many restaurants, go to our website, speciesunite.com. We will have links to everything. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Species Unite. If you have a spare moment and could do us a favor, please subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps people find the show. If you'd like to support the podcast, we would greatly appreciate it. Go to our website, speciesunite.com, and click donate. I'd like to thank everyone at Species Unite, including Gary Knudsen, Caitlin Pierce, Amy Jones, Paul Healy, Santina Polke, Ayana Peoples, Olivia Deming, and Anna Kalner, who wrote and performed today's music. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.